Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. This week, we're recapping a pretty awesome Michigan race, other than the weather delay. I was there live in person to witness it. Me and my son stayed until Monday to finish the race, and it was a pretty great race. Those cars were flying. It reminded me kind of a super speedway type race. That's how fast they were going. And so we're going to recap that and look forward to the Indy Road Course and all the craziness that comes with that. But before we get into the episode, I just want to thank everybody once again for the continued support and the listenership and the rates and reviews and the likes. I really like engaging with you all on social media, and I appreciate all your feedback, and that's what keeps me doing this. I'm having fun doing it. And so thank you to everyone who has been with me since day one and that continues to listen. And let's get into it. This race started off pretty crazy, honestly. Within the first, seemed like, I don't even know what lap number it was. I would think within the first 10 to 15 laps, Kyle Busch and Ryan Blaney get together, and kind of seemed like Blaney was racing awfully hard at the beginning of the race, and Kyle Busch got under him, thought he could clear him, tried to make a move, and just got loose under him and ended up backing it into the fence, and ended Kyle Busch's day very early. And that was something that was pretty wild to see. Kyle Busch seemed like in his pre-race interviews that he thought he was going to have another fast Chevrolet there in Michigan, and ends up coming home dead last, which was disappointing for that team, I'm sure. But pretty wild to see Blaney racing that hard that early. But I guess in these next-gen cars, you feel like if you give up any track position at all, you're going to be hurting. So that ended Kyle Busch's day. And then another big name exits the race. It was a little later on in the run, maybe I'm going to guess between lap 25 and lap 30 or something. Chase Elliott, right rear flat, and backs it into the fence, ends his day. And, I haven't really talked about Chase that much on this podcast this year because I don't think he's the same Chase Elliott. I don't know if it's something with the team. I don't know if it's him himself, but they've been off, and I continue to be the belief I don't think he's going to win this year. Just my thoughts. I've been wrong before, as many of you all know. If you've listened to my predictions, race-wise, I've been wrong. But race winners are hard to predict. But I just think Chase Elliott hasn't been the same. He's let some things mentally get to him. He had the injury earlier in the year, and, looked like he had a somewhat fast car this week, but then, has this issue, which this one wasn't his fault. I mean, right rear goes down. You're going 180 plus, nothing you can really do to save it at that point. But I don't think, for whatever reason, I don't know what's off, but something's off with that 9 team this year. And that's why I haven't really addressed him much. I know there was talk of, can Chase point his way in? I never believed he could, to be honest with you. He's always been 40 or more back, and, that's really impossible to point your way back after that, and especially after wrecking and finishing almost dead last this week. He's got to win a race, one of the next 3, which 2 are road courses. So it's possible he could, but I'm of the belief that I don't think he's going to. And I know that's probably unpopular since he's NASCAR's most popular driver. I don't see it happening. Who knows? I might eat crow. We might come back next week and he's won the Indy, and I'll eat that crow. But right now I just don't see it. Coming to the end of stage 1, which was a really good end of stage, had battles all over, but the main battle was Denny Hamlin and William Byron battling for that. I think it was, I don't even remember what spot it was, but they went 3 wide off a 3. And, Denny clears 2 people at once, and then you look back and Willie B is into the fence. And it just looked like he got loose, got up next to the wall, and then eventually smacked it. I think he ended up breaking a toe link and ended his day. So right off the bat, right at stage 1's ending, you got Willie B and Chase Elliott for Hendrick out of the race. So not a very good day for Hendrick at all, but that probably knocked Willie B out of the regular season points contention, that wreck. And it's been a really good year for him, seems like, but, third place in points is still good, but it seems like he should be better than that. Also, they've been so fast. But right now he's in third in regular season points. And who I thought was the car to beat this weekend was Martin Truex Jr., and he won stage one. And, he was stupid fast the whole day. It's kind of crazy that he did not win this race, but, he flew. I mean, anytime he would get back in the field, he had an issue at some point. I don't know if it was pit road issue or what he had. When you're at the race, it's kind of hard to follow it as well with everything happening around you. But there was one point he was about mid-pack, and you look up, and he was right back in it. I mean, he was right back in the top five, and that car could pass people, could do basically anything all day long. It was super fast, and those guys are clicking on all cylinders. And since we're talking about Martin, it was announced after the pod last week that he was coming back for at least one more year to Joe Gibbs Racing. And that was kind of came as a shock to me, honestly. But at the same time, they are absolutely the team to beat right now in the Cup Series. So, you're walking away from $1 million plus, probably more than that. Good sponsorship, relationship, and, I could see why you would want to stay. And Martin's at least staying one more year, and I don't see why they couldn't be as dominant next year, to be honest with you. I mean, they're firing. They were good last year, just couldn't put it together to win a race. And this year we've won several and probably are going to win more. So good for Martin, good for Joe Gibbs Racing. And now I do know why he was buried back in the field, because I've got in my notes Martin Truex issues on pit stops at end of the stage. So there you go. Had a little pit road issue, but didn't prevent him from still having a good finish. And then we restart at the start of stage two. Josh Berry, who was filling in for Noah Gragson in the 42 car, spins out, ends his day. Just looks like he got loose, maybe due to inexperience, but Josh will just keep getting better and better. And, filling in at the very last second for Noah, pretty wild situation there. He got the call like an hour before practice or something like that. So you don't go into the weekend expecting you're running the next gen car. You think you're running Xfinity, and then you get the call, and it's like, wow, I'm going to go do this. So, 42 as a team, Legacy as a team has been garbage all year long. So it's really no shock that Josh couldn't really do much with the car. But and speaking of the Noah Gragson situation, I'm sure you all have known what happened. He liked a meme on, I think it was Instagram. And, you can look more into the situation. I'm not getting political on this podcast. I'm just not a political guy. It's not me. But I can't believe that we're at a point as a series, that a social media like can get you suspended indefinitely by NASCAR. I know it's a tragic situation to what happened and all that, but, I don't agree with the indefinite suspension. I think that's overkill, to be honest with you. I understand Legacy suspending him for a race or whatever, but total overkill on NASCAR's part, in my opinion, for the indefinite suspension. I just don't think that's necessary. I think one race would have been fine, and we regroup and get on with it. I mean, maybe sensitivity training like Kyle Larson had to have, that's understandable. And then this morning it's reported that Noah Gragson has asked for his release from his contract with Legacy Motor Club, which if you listened last week, before all this stuff happened, I thought that was a possibility anyway, that they would go their separate ways and Noah maybe back to the Xfinity route. We'll see if that ends up happening. But I'm rooting for Noah. He's an awesome guy, awesome with his fans, makes a ton of time for the fans, so he deserves a good Xfinity ride and even a good Cup ride when he gets back. I don't think that Legacy is a good, like, I don't know. Something's off there too. I think this was just an out for him to be gone and released. Maybe Legacy gets better when they move to Toyota next year. That's still up in there too. I guess we'll see. But there's the rumor going around is John Hunter Nemechek is going to fill that number 42 seat next year. So we'll see. Mike Rockenfeller will step in at the 2 road course races, but after that, I'm not sure who they will have in that car for the rest of this season. Maybe they go ahead and give John Hunter that nod and let him get some experience this year. I'm not really sure, but we shall see. And like I said, I hope the best for Noah in the future. So that's all I'll say about that situation. Now back to the race. Right before the rain delay that delayed the race till Monday, Christopher Bell spins battling for the lead. And just got under the car that was in the lead there and just spun. Nobody's fault, honestly. Christopher, man, these cars, it seemed like you get under somebody and you could just flat out spin, like you couldn't catch it. And that happened here. He got in too deep and actually I think it was Bowman he was battling. And he cleared him. It looked like he cleared him. And then, he couldn't quite get up in front of him, so he had to lift. And when he lifted, the car just snapped around on him. And comes right across Denny's nose there. Denny barely misses C-Bell. And that was awesome wreck avoidance by Denny. And I hated it for C-Bell because he seemed like he was poised for a good run. But, it was Bowman he was battling. So that ended Sunday. They were 74 laps in. And then they resumed the race on Monday. And the first thing that happens, Ryan Preece, flat tire up out of the groove, but stays off the wall, which was good for him and that team. The flat tire. I put in my notes here, good racing all across the track. And what I meant by that is I don't know how much of this they showed on TV. I haven't got a chance to go back and watch the broadcast since we got back. But, 2 and 3 wide racing, 2 and 3 wide battles all the way across. These guys were pushing each other, just like a super speedway on restarts also. Just a very good Michigan race, in my opinion. I thought it had the potential to be Kansas level. I wouldn't say it was quite Kansas level, but it was a very solid race and really an awesome one to watch live and in person. And then the worst part of the race, in my opinion. I'm a little biased, I will admit that, but when you've been to, this was my 23rd race, and I still haven't seen Denny win one in person. He looked good early. He wasn't as fast as Martin early, but I think by the end he was actually faster. But he has starter issues on pit road. Couldn't get the thing to fire up, so he came in, I think, second or third in his pit sequence and came out 29th. And he did a heck of a job recovering before the end of stage 2. He even got back up to 10th or 11th there. And so a great recovery by Denny. He ends up coming home in third, but he had starter issues on pit road, and the crowd erupted in cheers as that happened, and I was not too happy. But I don't know if I'm bad luck for Denny. It seems like, he's finished third twice this year that I've seen him, once at Nashville and once in Michigan. Those are the 2 best finishes he's had with me in person. So I feel like a win's got to be coming eventually. 2 top 3s this season when I've been there. So maybe 25 is the magic number. I'm not sure at this point, but I'm really hoping so. Then at the restart, good restart. And then right at the end of stage 2, Martin Truex Jr. makes a move that you really didn't see much all day long. And I think it was just because Martin's car was just so good. It looked like Daniel Suarez had the second stage won. And out of nowhere, Martin passes him at the very last second. And that was awesome. He went high at first. Suarez blocked high. And Truex went low and got him right at the line. And Martin Truex wins his second stage of the day with that move. And it was a truly great move. So then after stage 2 is over, we go into the last stage of the race, and I hated to see this. If you all know, I jumped off of the Alex Bowman train last week, said that I don't think he'll win anymore, and he was proving me wrong there for a while, led a bunch of laps in Michigan, and just bad luck. They stack up in front of him, and he's got to check up and ends up getting spun, and his day's pretty much done. So, he's in the same situation as Chase. Those 3 races left, going to have to win to get in the playoffs. Just honestly a disappointment this year from the 48 team, in my opinion. At the beginning of the year, I thought they would win 2 races at least. I thought that was the minimum. I was high on him with new crew chief Blake Harris, and he got injured, so that might have little to do with it. They were running really well before that. And, they're up front every once in a while, but they just cannot close it out for whatever reason. I'm not sure why, but, it seems like they either always get spun or always spin themselves or, have issues elsewhere. So, hated to see that for Bowman, but hopefully he can recover this week. We'll see. Now, the thing that the most people are talking about from this week, other than the Noah Gragson thing, of course, Tyler Reddick comes in for pit stops on green flag stops and looked like he almost passed Busher. Busher was leading at the time they come in for the last set of green flag stops. And Reddick comes in right on his bumper, maybe even a little past him, and comes out ahead of him. Comes out ahead of Busher and is in the lead, has control of the race, and his wheel is loose. Ends up spinning. He saves it without getting into the wall, but of course has to come down pit road again, and his day is done. And you never hear Tyler Reddick get out of shape or anything, and man, he was laying into his pit crew. It seems like mistake after mistake has been made by that 2311 pit crew, and this was a race win. I mean, once he had the track position, I think he had a good enough car to beat Busher for sure. And I think that, I can understand his frustration. I kind of wish he wouldn't have went to the length that he did of tearing into them, but I know he's frustrated. He watched a race win get away from him. I think they only have one this year, and, I think he's the favorite going into this weekend, though, honestly. He won last year. I think Toyota's been a lot better on road courses this year, so Tyler Reddick's definitely a guy you got to think about, which you'll hear my predictions and people to watch and that type of thing later on. But I think he's definitely a guy you got to talk about when you talk about Indy Road Course. So hopefully he can, regroup and get after it this week. And, that's pretty much all that happened besides the last lap, when Chris Busher took the checkered flag for the second week in a row. And this is really a shock to me, honestly. Winning back-to-back is super hard and hardly ever happens, honestly, especially with this next-gen car. But RFK's got something cooking, I'll be honest with you. They went and won at a short track last week in Richmond, and then they win on a 2-miler at Michigan. I mean, they've got something cooking, and I think me and my son are also Chris Busher's good luck charm because he's won 4 total races, and we've been there for 2 of them. We were at Bristol last year, so to see him win again is pretty cool. I don't really have any thoughts either way about Chris. Maybe his fan base will probably start growing now after winning a couple races, but the guy's definitely a talent, and you got to respect that. And Brad Keselowski has took Roush Fenway Keselowski and has elevated them astronomically. I mean, they were in the crapper, basically. I'll be honest, they were not good at all until, Brad's got in there, fixed things, and they're firing on all cylinders, got both cars in the playoffs as of right now. I think Brad will be pretty much locked in on points, even if he doesn't win. And Busher, of course, with the 2 wins. So these guys got something figured out. I think Busher will be a factor this week, too. He's a really good road course racer. And, could he three-peat? That would be absolutely crazy. I'd like to see the odds on that before the Richmond race. But, it's not crazy to happen. I mean, they're firing on all cylinders right now. And, he's a guy to watch also. So, great weekend in Michigan. Me and my son went to SummerSlam as well, if I've got any WWE fans that listen. And that was an experience of its own, man. That was awesome, too. So, but we enjoyed both things. Heck of a race to watch in person. And, we're looking forward to watching Indy Road Course. He loves chaos, it seems like, when it comes to races. So, I think Indy will be a good one to watch as well. Now, looking on to Indy Road Course, it's hard to pick a team to beat this week, honestly, because I think there'll be several different ones in contention. I'm not going to have a team to beat this week. I think the field will be evenly matched. I don't think there's going to be one racing team that jumps out and dominates this race, to be honest with you. I think there's going to be comers and goers all day. Especially with restarts. I just think that I could be totally wrong. Someone could dominate the whole race. But my opinion, no dominant team. I want to touch on the people they're bringing in. NASCAR is for the top three that jump out at me are Brody Kostecki, who raced supercars with SVG and apparently beats him a lot. So could Brody, who's driving the number 33 car for Richard Childress Racing this week, could he be a factor? That's going to be something to see. And then you got Kobayashi driving the number 67, the third entry for Denny's team, 2311. I expect him to be fast. If you've listened to anything that Denny said, he said, that 67 is going to be fast. So I'll believe that. I think he'll be a good factor. And then, of course, you've got SVG, who's already won a NASCAR race this year. So, you've got a stacked field going into this. Can any of those guys be a factor? Could any of those guys win? I don't know. I think it's doubtful, to be honest with you. But I could see them all running fairly well. I think we're going to have double file restarts, which we did not have at Chicago. I think that's going to be different. Hopefully it doesn't rain in Indy so we can have just a regular clean race. We'll see. But I wanted to touch on those guys who I've got respect for coming over here and trying this and running it. If SVG wins again, go ahead and he needs to just sign the contract before he leaves. Just stay over here and someone needs to just sign him in victory lane because going 2 for 2 would be absolutely insane. Some guys to watch. I touched on Tyler Reddick earlier. I think another guy to watch for me, Michael McDowell. I picked him. I picked him on Chicago Street Course. I picked him to win. I don't think he'll have race winning speed, but I think he's a guy to watch. And then, there's so many different guys that could be factors on road courses. Denny has been super fast in qualifying on road courses this year, but, not been able to close it out. He's had mistakes happen. Seabell's usually good on road courses. Any of the Hendrick guys, those are basically, just the guys I'm mentioning that are kind of on my radar to pick. And we'll see, who I end up going with. But I think we are destined for a good, entertaining race. I agree with NASCAR and their move to move the restart zone back, kind of like they did at Chicago, where, it's not going to be complete chaos going into turn one. They think that if they move the restart zone back, that, things will get more single file and less chaotic. I don't know if the drivers will agree with that. I guess we'll see if they want to dive bomb and all that stuff. But I think it's shaping up to be a good one. So we'll get on to the prediction. I also just want to throw in this little tidbit here so people wouldn't get on me about talking about a road course race without mentioning A.J. Allmendinger. I think he's a guy to watch, but I don't think they've had the speed. Just in general, like on road courses, especially where, I mean, they pretty much signed AJ just to come in to win road courses. I know he won here in 2021, but I mean, Briscoe took Denny out on the last lap, or he wouldn't have even won that one. But, I don't think Colleague has had the speed as a whole. I know Justin Haley finished second on Chicago Street Course, but that was to do with all the, the race shortening, pit strategy, that type of thing. I don't think he had a second place car, and I don't think AJ will have the speed either. I know he's a really good, exceptional road course racer, so I'm not downgrading him at all. I just don't see the speed in the 16 car to win the race this week. This has honestly, other than super speedways, I've struggled the most with who to pick to win this race. It's been the hardest. I'm down to the two Kyles, Kyle Busch or Kyle Larson. And I'm going to go with the number 8 car of Kyle Busch. I think he's due for a good run. I think, Larson, I think he's still got the Denny stuff in his mind, to be honest with you. I think that, I think they blew that up way too much. And I think Kyle Busch is going to go out there and try to get the win for RCR, which would not surprise me, to be honest with you. He's pretty good at road courses, in my opinion, and that 8 car won here last year with Tyler Reddick. I mentioned Tyler Reddick as a guy. I think you're going to have to go through him, but, Martin Truex is overwhelmingly favored in this race. And I get it. I know they are first in the points, and they've had the fastest car lately, and he won at Sonoma. But I don't know. Don't strike me as him winning here at Indy. I could be totally wrong. There's obviously a reason why he's a favorite. But I'm going with Kyle Busch in that number 8 car, and taking the 3 Chi machine back to victory lane is my prediction. Now on to our question of the week. This week's question is very straightforward, and I appreciate you all sending them in. And by the way, send me more. Send me more questions. I look forward to answering them on here. I'll pick one every week like I always have. And this one says, how does Michigan rank in terms of tracks that you have been to, and would you recommend going there for a race? And I would say yes. Go there, definitely. It's a great track. Great action all over, especially in this next-gen car. I'm sure Xfinity cars would be good to watch there, too. We didn't watch the Xfinity race, but I would say yes. I recommend Michigan. That's definitely an awesome track. If that's on your list of ones to go to, definitely check it out. And that's what I got for this week. I appreciate all the support once again. Continue to like, listen, review, subscribe. And thank you all. And until next week, we'll recap what goes down at the Indy Road Course. And until next week, this has been JD's NASCAR and Sports Podcast. Thank you, guys.